Hola, and welcome to Word to Your Mama. Word to Your Mama is a podcast about the life of a Latina creative, that's me, and the lives of my amazing multicultural tribe. A celebration of shared experiences navigating this dynamic world. There will be special guests, mad laughs, and absolutely no BS. Segments by the Supernatural Bear. That's my little man. He's 10 going on 40 because he's an old soul. But other than that, this podcast will be explicit. Please believe it. Now, why do I have a wide range of peeps on here? It's because I come from the music, art, and Web3 industries. Word to Your Mama comes out every Monday. This is episode 125 of WTYM. Today, we have Christabel Nsiah-Buadi, an audio story development and production leader, founder of My Lens Media, the lead at Sound Up behind the mic at Spotify, and the founder and host of the Cipher Pod. In this episode, we discuss her upbringing, her formative years, her family being from Ghana, born in Scotland, raised in the UK, and how what her journey going into storytelling brought her over to the States, and then what brought her from New York to LA, so that I had the pleasure and honor of meeting her so we could discuss and bond on mama rage. And also how the passing of her father and the memories of history, the history of storytelling, inspired her to start the Cipher podcast, which celebrates global Black creatives. And then we go into who comes in second to Ghana when it comes to the Jollof wars and so much more. So I had the honor of attending one of the Sound Up events at the Spotify studios that Christabel and her team did an amazing job put together. And it was an evening of both the stage and the audience reflecting each other. And I was hopeful because I was like, look at these Black and Indigenous award-winning producers and podcast hosts up on the stage. And then when I look around at the tables all around me, it is Black and brown creatives that are maybe in the space, maybe, in a similar space, in a parallel space. And I left, I was like, wow, driving back home from LA, I was like, there's hope. There's hope here, with people like Christabel in these leadership positions. When I met her, she was, I guess the kids were maybe 6 months old or younger, who's to say. And she, at the time, she was a senior supervising producer at NPR. And I honestly, for reals, don't know how I would have survived those first 2 years of being a magical MF warrior, aka mama, without her, for reals. And, when I post about the podcast, the hashtag is hashtag WTYM, but I think I'm going to add a new one, hashtag my tribe is dope, because my tribe is dope. So let's get into it. As we should start off our convo that we're finally having on Word to Your Mama with laughter, because that's what we're about.
I'll do one more time.
Oh man,
Yeah.
for those who can't see this right now, it's amazing faces. Christabel.
Yes. Why you gotta be like that? Yes.
So aggressive.
Isn't that what we are?
Muchísimas gracias for being here. We've been trying to do this for how long? And
Ever.
we're here.
Ever. Forever,
Yes.
ever.
Forever. Thank you
Forever,
so
ever.
much. Let's start off. How are you doing? How have you been?
know, I've been good. We have people in the house right now. It is a blessing. Those people are banging and drilling in my house because we're doing some exciting things. We'll just leave it at that. That is a blessing because I'm able to do those things.
Right.
But shout out to the contractor because he's actually awesome. But in general, in life, I'm really, really good. Family's healthy. At the time of taping, right now, as we are typing, my mum just returned to the UK. She was with us for a few weeks, and that was fun.
That's
Life is
awesome.
good. Life is good. The show, the Cipher, that I host and produce and have developed is going well. Life is good.
That's amazing to hear. Hell yeah. We're definitely going to get into the Cipher for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
But I wanted to kind of start off, taking it back. But before we go way back, I wanted to, you meet somebody at a party, you meet someone, out in the streets, and they ask you, what do you do? What is your answer? What is your current answer right now?
Damn, I wasn't ready for that question. She starts with the hard one. I'm an audio storytelling leader. That's what I tell people.
What? You weren't ready with that? Because that sounded like you were ready. Because that's amazing. I love that.
And also clown. That's what it says on my card.
Yeah, you stay ready. That's amazing. I love that. And then if they were like, well, what does that mean? You go into it more. But okay, so let's go back. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Scotland in the United Kingdom and raised in London in the United Kingdom. I'm going to make you so mad during this interview. But yeah, I was born in Scotland, raised in London in the UK. My family is from Ghana. I claim Ghana hard. Yeah. So I call myself a British-born Ghanaian. My big sister actually was born in Ghana. So I'm the only person in my immediate family who was born in the United Kingdom. So age 3, up until the age of 2 or 3, I lived in Scotland. I had a hardcore Scottish accent. Do not ask me to do it. I cannot do it. Not yet.
I can imagine.
To the point that to this day, family, my uncles and aunties who are now in their 70s and 80s still laugh about the fact that when they say, Amma, how are you? And I say, I'm fine. And for those who are confused, Amma is my African name, my home name, the first name that I knew. And I said, I'm fine. I can't even do the accent. And they would just roll. They would just ask me that question for sport, just because they were bored.
Just to hear it. Hear it.
So how you doing? And an idiot me would be like, I'm fine. Like, why'd you keep asking the question? So there was that. Went to moved down to London when I was 3. Also, I am told, because at age 3, one moment, because at age 3, you don't know what's up. You're moving around. Moved down to London, and yeah, that's where my growth and development was. West London at a place called Brentford. And my first school was called Green Dragon Primary.
What? Are you a wizard?
Dragon. Maybe. Some people would say I might be. I got the skills. And,
you make magic happen.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So yeah, that in a shortest possible time, that is my beginnings. I will say that in between all of that, I actually went back to Ghana for a few months, I think 3 months. And as I recall, and I have wonderful memories of that. I say that 3-year-olds don't remember stuff, you do. And clearly moving to Ghana was very formative, or going to Ghana during that time, because I remember that. Like, I remember my Papa V and Papa Ga, who were my grandfather and my great uncle. And I remember the house that my mum grew up in. I remember the dust on my toes. I remember the smells. I remember like loving oranges because they were so fresh at the time. And so I developed a love of oranges until I was pregnant with my first child. And then that ended that. But now we're back. Oranges and me are now friends again. I spoke 3 languages. I spoke English. I spoke Ewe, which is my mum's language. I spoke Fantichi. So I have all these really strong memories. And as my mum tells it, really the reason why we went back is because I got sick. I got sick. Not like sick, like something was going on with my digestive system, I think. Like, and I wouldn't eat anything and couldn't hold anything down. And my grandparents were like, oh, no, you need to go back. Because they were so worried that I wasn't going to eat and then waste away, that they were like, nah, she got to go back. English girl got to go back. And when I hear that story, I'm just like, oh, wow, life could have been really different, maybe, if that hadn't happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So then you come back and you become a wizard because you go to Green Dragon.
Yeah.
And then, so when do you switch, or what is the route, do you think, that started the trajectory, or you went back to, or however your journey was to become audio storyteller and
audio
do what
wizard.
You do now?
Audio wizard. We're going to roll with that.
Audio wizard.
Audio wizard. You know what? It was back in Scotland. My earliest memories are of hearing my parents would play music all the time, right? All the time. Like, there were country and Western records. My mum loved ABBA. I remember like staring and reading like the album covers. But in particular, I remember looking at this Donna Summer cover, and I wish I could remember the name of the album, but she looked like an angel. She's sitting on the moon, just like, just leaning on the moon in this beautiful white dress. And I'm looking at this thinking, who is this beautiful angel? And then the music is playing, because my dad would let me read the album, the liner notes, while the music was playing. But there was always someone in our house. There was always someone. I think we may have even lived with someone else. There might have been, other people living in the house with us. And they were always talking about their day. And they were always talking about, what it meant, how they were navigating living in this exotic place, in this foreign place, and how the people were funny and the things that the people did. And sometimes they'd lament at some of the behaviors. Sometimes they'd be laughing. And so for me, I didn't realize it, but that was story to me. And my dad used to love reading. So I also read, like I had a Beano annual. Don't ask me why. But there was a comic book that I was obsessed with. And I remember reading it all the time. It was quite thick, had a red or orange binding. And it was a comic strip. And I would be looking at that. And I would have been no more than 2 or 3, but I was a reader. So I had that connection to story already. So, and, my parents would read me bedtime stories, or they would tell me things. So I always had story in my life, right? And it was always audio story, I'm realizing as I'm telling you this.
That's right.
And then I guess at some point, quite early in my life, because the TV didn't reflect what my real life looked like, right? Which was mainly Black people in the house. Outside, maybe not so much. Moira Stewart there were 2 Black newsreaders when I was growing up, and Moira Stewart, another angel, she actually inspired me. She was my first inspiration to get into broadcasting. She's this beautiful Black woman on the TV who has this very, very, not controlled, but this is how she talked when she was reading the news. And she had a bit of a lisp. Lisp is not quite the word. I can't explain, but she had something that made her stand out, apart from her being the only Black woman newsreader on the TV that I saw. And she would talk about the news. This is the BBC News with Moira Stewart. Like, that's how she sounded. I just thought she was amazing. And she's still alive. And if I ever get to interview her, it would be life-changing. Let's make that happen. And so I think all of those things, it gave me a window to the outside world. It gave me an opportunity to hear information about the world and to connect with people. I just felt a very visceral connection to audio. But aside of all of that, I realized that the world that I lived in is not the world that I was hearing, if that made sense. So the TV shows weren't talking about these amazing, hilarious people that I saw, or that it wasn't reflecting them. But if we were on the news, and if we saw somebody in the news, you'd be like, and if it was the news, you'd be like, what did they do? You know the story. We've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
But if they were on a sitcom, it would be quite exciting until you realize that they were the topic of some ridiculous storyline.
Yeah.
So then began my kind of desire change that or to insert myself in that or to tell other stories. Because I was like, why are we hearing these stories? Because the people I know are hilarious and they are thoughtful and they're interesting. And all these other stories are kind of like, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
So what were you doing in the UK prior to moving to the States? And what year was that?
So I moved just after 9/11, 2001, and I was going back and forth. I was working for the marketing department of a national newspaper. I had just recently graduated from university, and I was looking for my big break in broadcasting. I had done TV prior to university, and I was desperate to get back in there. And I just couldn't do it. But a friend, I got this job at this marketing department. It was not what I wanted to do, but I certainly got an insight into media and how that works doing that job, right? But then one day I don't know, I was online. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Because if I didn't do it now, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to do it. Break into broadcasting or journalism and writing. I didn't know how else I was going to do it. So I reached out to, I started emailing people way back in the day. I think I might have had, on my Hotmail account. I had a Hotmail account.
Hotmail. Kids don't know about that. Kids don't know
about a Hotmail. Emailed on my Hotmail account and started doing some research on the Yahoo. And I came across somebody, a professor at Long Island University. And I just emailed him on the fly. I was like, I really want to do this. I want to break into it. I would like to go to the US as well. The guy that I was dating at the time was going to go to the US. And I was just like, I want to do that. And shout out to my sister, because I nearly didn't do it. But she said, if you don't try this thing out, try and figure out what this broadcasting thing is, like, what have you got to lose? Was my big sister who said, just try it out. So I said, okay. And I tried. And Professor Ralph Engelman, wherever you are, thank you. He responded. And he said, I have a friend who works at a radio station and you might be able to volunteer with him. And I said, all right. So I emailed. So then he contacted his friend and his friend responded to him. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a 3-month sabbatical, and I'm going to go to New York. So I did that, which is was very unlike me. Not unlike me now, but it was then. I wasn't a huge risk taker in that sense. And it felt like a huge, huge risk. Did it. When I got to New York, and remember, this is just after 9/11. So there's still a huge crater downtown. My parents were petrified. My dad, who was usually a cool cat about these things, when I told him that I was going, his voice went up like 3 octaves.
Oh.
And he was just like, wait, what? And I said, I'm going to be fine. And he's like, for real? But he didn't stop me. So I go to the radio station, WBAI, which no longer exists. It's part of the Pacifica network, on Wall Street. So again, that big crater
right there
was right there. And I walked in and I said, and I had my email, because I like to keep my receipts. Anyone who knows me knows I like to keep my receipts for a reason. So I did. And I walked in and I said, hey, you said that there'd be a volunteer position. I'm here. And you said, come on this day. So I booked my ticket and I'm here. This man looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, I don't. And I said, yes, you do. And then he found me. He found me. I mean, I say like I was cool, calm, and collected. My heart was in my mouth and I was on the verge of tears because I was like, please, this is my only break. And that gentleman was Don Rojas, former general manager of WBAI. And I said I wanted to work in news. So he sent me to the news department. There was no space at that inn. But then across the way, there was a team of young reporters from a collective called Free Speech Radio News. And I opened the door and I saw a young lady called Deepa Fernandez, who, if you listen to the news, you will know her now. And she looked at me, I looked at her, and she kind of went, and I was like, okay, well, I'm here. And we've been best friends ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then you were going back and forth, and then you made the big move?
Yeah, I was
Full
going back
time?
and forth and volunteering. So I was doing all this stuff for free because once the money exchanges hands, you're creating problems for yourselves. I think you understand what I mean. So I was volunteering there, but Free Speech Radio News was a global news collective. So I was able to build my chops with Free Speech Radio News. I should also add that the timing of it was significant because I was there when the whole world was protesting against the invasion of Iraq. And the UK and the US hadn't quite decided if they were going to go in. And so I was out on the streets interviewing people about how they felt. And I was doing news reports on the hour, every hour. So I was learning how to report on the fly. They quickly saw that I had a gift for story, for identifying the prescient thing, the thing that people wanted to hear about. And I was able to develop that. And so I did that for a few months. And then when I was able to, I was then brought over to develop a news department essentially. But yeah, it took a few years, and then I was able to go back again when obviously it was illegal, when I was legally able to do so. And so I did that, and I worked with with Free Speech Radio News, I should say. And then I was offered a job. I was asked. I'm going to scroll back because this is not true. In between that, I started doing local TV news, like cable TV news. Someone said she likes to do news, and it was like in the middle of the night. I had to go, and I was tired. They made me read all these scripts. It really doesn't sound it's not as sexy as it sounds. And then someone asked me to apply for a job at Air America Radio. As a producer with Air America Radio. And I did, and I got it. And I worked with Laura Flanders for a few years. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing because, because of the risks that you took, and at the time you weren't a risk taker, we were blessed with you to be in New York and then eventually LA. And I don't know if you remember, because I do. I remember it was like yesterday when I met you, how we met. Do you remember how we met?
Yes. It was it was a spring day. Yes, it was a spring day. Well, there was LA, so who knows? It could have been October or December. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the math. I forget how the kids were. Nevertheless, it was a spring day, and we were in a park, and we were both sitting down, and our kids, my eldest, your bear, I don't know if they were playing with each other or not. I don't know, because I was kind of out of my mind with like new mum delirium.
Right.
And all of you were there. All three of you were there.
Rare sighting. Rare fucking sighting. Let me tell you.
You and the two bears were there. And I was looking at him like, I recognize that face. Let me not be that person. And then I saw the woman next to him being smiling like you're smiling now. And I went, we had like a psychic connection, like, what's up, sis?
Totally.
Oh my gosh. Totally. And then we kind of crept up toward each other, and then we started talking, and we were like, oh my God, okay. Yeah. It was like coming home, right? It was fantastic.
It was fantastic because we were new moms. They were like maybe 6 months, maybe barely on solid foods, maybe. And I didn't have any like mama friends, let alone any mama friends in the area that I connected to. I tried with this mama group, and we had nothing in common. And then here you are. And I was just like, it was this instant connection. And then remember, we started going to the hip hop classes, sweating it out. That was so much fun. I was like, this is my girl. Like, amazing. And our kids, are they the same day or one day apart? What? They're the same month?
I think no. They're a month apart.
They're a month apart.
They're a month apart.
But they're like the same age. So it was a gift. You are a gift, because it was dark times. That first year, I think of it like like I survived. People don't
That's
tell
a
you
word.
people don't tell you that first year for some, especially for those of us magical MF warriors, aka mamas that are so independent. When you that first 6 months to a year, it's hard. It's extra hard on us because so much is taken away. So to meet you and connect on so many different levels, you saved me. Like,
oh my gosh, sis.
Saved.
Wow. I remember, thank you so much. I feel the same way. I remember us talking about rage. I remember us talking about, like, do you know what I mean? Like the quiet, do you remember like the rage that we didn't feel like we could express? Because as a mother, it's all supposed to be like, well, isn't the baby gorgeous? Yes, the baby is gorgeous. Like both things can coexist. They both can be true.
At the same
time. And we were just like, I'm so rageful right now. And every time I tried to explain what's happening, nobody understands me, but you do. I didn't even have to say I'm mad. You were like, got you.
Yeah, same. Like, exactly. I had been thinking the same exact shit, right? And no one ever understood. So when I don't know who brought it up first, it was just like, yeah.
And it was
feeling
just like,
robbed.
Yes. And it was like, it didn't just come out. It wasn't an explosion of you feel rage. It was just like, so, how you doing? I'm okay. How you doing? I'm fine. And the two of us were very forthright, right? But not in this. We're just like, I don't know. Rage?
Rage? Am I right? The octaves.
Yeah,
am I right on the rage?
Like all the dogs are like, what?
Yes,
rage?
Yes.
So
the rage is real. Like, the mama rage is real.
And no one still talks about it. Everybody still makes it look pretty. And I'm just like, when you become a mother, no matter whether you birth that person or by other means, because of the way that society expects you to be in terms of nurture, and even nurturing is messy in of itself. You can be nurturing and you are nurturing, but it requires giving, and in giving, that's energy that you have to find. And you've never had to give that energy to so many people and then put yourself last. Like, it's a muscle. You have to exercise it and train, and you're never going to get it right. And you have to come to terms with it, because the life that you had before is dead. I don't care what anyone says. It's dead and gone. So you have to make peace with what this new life is and what that possibility could be. And if you've been told for all of your life that your life is supposed to go a certain way, or you're supposed to do a certain thing, and then you said, nah, I have other hopes and dreams for myself, to then do that, you're literally starting again. So rage. You got rage.
You got rage because we don't have resources in place, let alone these conversations of it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to have this rage. It's okay to feel stuck and depressed. And because you said it, Christabel, we have to expend extra energy on another level to be a mom, a caregiver, and however you got to that place. But at the same time, because we're in that space, our bandwidth is depleted. So we're working with scraps.
Barely scraps. And you said that we met at 6 months. So, homie, we were barely walking. But you want me to be like, I'm going to chase after this, 6 month little like flight risk, and also feed them, and then be like, it's okay, baby, it's fine. Get here. No, I'm tired. I'm tired of running after you. Can I have a nap, please? It's rage.
It's rage. It's rage. And so this is for the mamas out there, the new mamas, the old mamas, wherever you're at in your mama journey. It's okay. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad. You're human.
And you are doing great. Like, please believe me when I say you are doing great, and everything that you're feeling it makes complete sense. It's just a case of obviously, valid. we don't want you to hurt anyone. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And that's not what we're saying. Just caveat. But if you are mad and you are peaceful, that's valid. It's completely valid because you don't know what you're doing. And here's the other thing. You don't know what you're doing, but everyone else is asking you questions. They want you to solve it. The 6-month baby that's running around is constantly asking you to solve their problems. Your partner, bless them. No matter who they are, it's just like, you okay? Or what can I do for you? Or I need this. I'm tired, man. Can I have a 10-month nap? Can I have a 10-month nap?
Exactly. So yes, we were there for each other. We have been through the struggle. I remember the conversations, going to the hip hop classes, talking about like, yeah, I'm a mom and all, but like, I'm not stopping my dreams. I'm not quitting on what I need to do because we want to be the best that we can. We want to show by example. You know, at the time you just had the one and it was a daughter. You want to show her by example. My son, I want to show him by example, you know, support the ladies in your life, support the women in your life. Because if he sees me doing me and being happy, then I'm ready to give him the most.
Exactly.
The rage isn't there and I'm ready to provide at a top level, you know? So thank you so much for your journey to be here because, I mean, we might not talk for a year. We might not talk for a couple of months, but when we get back, that's how you know it's true friendship, true love, true familia, because it's like no time has passed. No time has passed. So let's get into, you've been doing a lot of different things, the radio scene, and then now podcasting. Tell the folks about, you do a lot of different things, but tell the folks about your baby, Cipher.
The Cipher podcast.
The Cipher. Do you want to support original content that supports diverse voices? Why not support Word to Your Mama? You're listening to it right now. Become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/WTYM. There are 4 patron levels to choose from, including Good Looking Out, I'm Down, Hell Yeah, and Please Believe It. Benefits include patron shoutouts, exclusive patron-only content, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/WTYM to take your support to the next level. Gracias.
Many of us have heard of the devastating passing of Hurricane Fiona through Puerto Rico, but not many of us know of ways, or better yet, trustworthy ways to help and contribute to those in need. Fiona a través de los ojos de los niños is an NFT project featuring art made by children of the nonprofit school Flor de Loto in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Through their drawings, they've expressed their feelings and fears which they went through the hurricane. You can help these children, their school, families, and communities by minting one of their NFTs at helppr.xyz. You can also help by sending crypto directly to their wallet listed on the website or do a donation through PayPal. The links can be found in the description. And to learn more about this initiative and how you can help, please visit helppr.xyz or via Twitter at helpprflm.
The Cipher podcast.
The Cipher podcast, you know, I'll tell you what it's about and I'll tell you how it was created. Because right now, as you and I are talking, I'm releasing some rewinds, right? So I'm re-releasing some earlier episodes. And it's really interesting listening to those because at the time when I was producing those shows, it was just me. I was doing it by myself, but I really felt compelled to do it because I started doing it in the pandemic, but I'd been thinking about doing that for years beforehand. And again, that whole risk averseness was kicking out. Just like, and I'm a radio producer, so it has to be like so before I release it, because if it sounds like this, people aren't going to think I know what I'm doing. All of that. But my father passed away in early 2020, just before the lockdown, and he lived in the UK. And I really, going back to story, I really had this moment of like lying in my bed, depressed about my dad not being around and just wanting him, right? Being like, how do I honor him? and I found an old tape. Not an old tape, mini disc player.
Whoa.
Girl, I found a mini disc, and I got my husband to clean the mini disc player because I forgot to take the batteries out, and I thought I've destroyed it. I'm going to have to order a new mini disc. My husband's an engineer. He likes fixing stuff. Bless him. It worked. And I played this tape of me interviewing Dad about his life in the UK. And I was missing his voice, and I heard his voice. And I was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to tell this story. I don't know how to tell it. But I took the tape out, took the batteries out because I didn't know when I was going to play it again. I didn't want to go through the whole thing. And I was like, I want to honor him. How do I honor him, but also honor those people whose stories we don't get to hear? You know, like I said earlier in the conversation, I'm surrounded by all of these storytellers and all of this life. And, you know, the media that is meant to serve everybody is not telling these stories. So how do I get to do that? As somebody who worked in the media, who worked in radio, who worked in radio and has all of this experience and is well respected as a showrunner, as a show editor, as someone who can create compelling stories. How do I start to do that? And the only way I knew how was just to talk about it. And I literally was in bed, like face slack with tears. I'm going, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try this podcast. And I was developing a podcast prior to that, and I was exhausted. So there was no reason for me to do that because I'm doing this stuff for free, and I don't need any more work because kids, pandemic, all of that.
Right.
But I picked up the mic and I called somebody who I knew from back in the day, Michael Olatuja, who's a musician, incredible musician. And I explained to him what I wanted to do. And he said, yes, I'd be happy to do it. And so that was how the Cipher, which is really about celebrating those superheroes around Africa and the pandemic, aka global Black creatives, celebrating those people who are changing narratives about these global Black cultures. And so they're counteracting the false narratives and the problematic narratives that we hear about what it means to be Black in this world. And also I wanted to speak to people who are multicultural, right? People who are like me, who, you know, have roots in one place, but were born somewhere else, and how those cultures in us, we've created something new, not new cultures, just again, these new narratives, because these narratives are not being told either, because it's either the narrative of a person who has just arrived, which is absolutely valid, right? But we are the children of people who we were born all over the world, right? And our experiences are the bridge, right? And so our wisdom and our experience really gets to tell the world something and helps people kind of understand, I think, our cultures, our ancient cultures, the cultures that our parents were born and raised in, and we may not have been. But also we get to see ourselves because, you know, we live in the West, we were born in the West, we relate to it, but not quite, because, you know, our foods are different. The way we think about the world is more global in a lot of ways. And if it's not global, it can feel divided. And I know growing up that when you come from two worlds, you can be accused of being lost. When you can feel that, we're always told we're lost. But are we really? Is it that we're lost, or is it a remix? It's not that we're lost. Just remixing something. It's a remix.
It's a remix.
You can tell that I love music, right? And, you know, and so we're often disempowered and our experience is often undervalued. And I'm saying, don't undervalue that, because that's actually your superpower. And people will say, don't play the identity politics. We're not playing identity politics. But for me, I say to people, actually, my identity is my superpower, because I can understand you, and I can understand you. I understand that shorthand. That's a superpower. It doesn't mean I agree with you. It just means I understand what you're saying. But I have my cousin described like my perspective on things is like, he's like, you're like the guys in the Matrix. You just see it's like that, and you can like connect the dots and you know what to do. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely me. So I wanted to celebrate those folks who are like me, who were once told that they were lost, but are not lost. We see the connections and we see the bridges.
I love that. The bridges, that's what we are, because especially, and we understand each other, and I think our missions align for why we're doing this. And we come from a generation that we're not too far from removed, you know, from our parents, our grandparents, coming from like how you say in Spanish, tierra natal, like your native land, and how storytelling is at the core of it takes a village, and that's how history goes down the generations, right? And there's a thing where we say, and I think as first gen kids,
yes,
we all feel it. It's neither from here nor there, right?
Yes. Hence that lost.
Yeah. So they think we're lost, but I love how you have reframed the narrative that we're the bridges. Because I can go boom, 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 boom. And I understand it. I can translate it. I can, distill it. And that is a superpower. So I'm super excited that, you started this in the pandemic. I started this in the pandemic, but I think we might be similar where, we were just trying to survive. Now we're year 3, and now it's like full steam ahead on this, because the mission is bigger than us. Right?
Yes. And it's funny because I was scared of the mission, because when I first talked about it with my friend in the UK, I was like, I want it to be people from the UK. I want it to be Black folks in the UK. But I don't live in the UK anymore. And again, my experience is global. And, I lived in the Caribbean for 1 year, right? And studying in the Caribbean for 1 year was a thing that kind of like propelled me with this idea of being diasporic and celebrating the diaspora and connecting the dots and realizing that we are more similar than we are different, right? As Black people around the world, and understanding that just coming from that place of love is actually far more powerful than the other way, right? And so when I got back, I was like, well, what should it be? And then I kind of slipped into, I think we all do that, right? I slipped into my profession of it, which is I want to celebrate creators, but that feels really esoteric. So maybe I should ground it in the practical of, well, how can I help people? Because I'm often approached by people who want to tell stories. So how can I give something back, right? How can I share the information that I've learned about how to tell an audio story? So I did that. So for a minute, the Cipher was about giving podcasting tips while hearing from these great creators. And it's funny, even as I'm saying it to you, I'm just like, really what that meant was I was too scared of acknowledging the true value of the message that I was sending. I didn't have to do the most. I was doing the most because I didn't see the value of the core thing that I said I was celebrating, which is being that bridge and those stories. And so as time has gone on, I've gone back to the core of it, which is we're celebrating creators who are redefining narratives. Not just by existing, which is enough, right? But not just by existing because there are so few people there, but we're not interrogating, because it's a very laid back and personal conversation. But I actually will use the word interrogating, but not in the way that we all think about it. We're interrogating the why, and we're asking how they did that. That's the way in which we get to empower creators out there who want to do something, because we say, they felt like you. They were broke. They didn't know how to ask for help, but they did, And so what's happened is that the show now leans on this concept of daring to dream, because again, as children of immigrants, we weren't afforded that. So my whole thing is dare to dream. What's your dream? How do you make that happen? And it's the how you make that happen part, right? That matters, because you can dream it, and everyone has a dream. And you should have that dream, right? But what I give you in the podcast, and in the ways in which we help with our how-tos, because we share with each guest, we ask people to share a tip, a creative tip, a practical tip about how you can make that dream happen, right? So we're trying to inspire people into action as well. And for a while I was uncomfortable with that, because I was like, well, should it just be a how-to show? No, it doesn't have to be that. We're amplifying people who are doing it, but we're also showing you the steps by, Hold on one second.
Okay.
But we'll also inspire you to do that by showing you the steps.
Yes, I love that because you are providing a platform for diverse stories that maybe have a similar through line, but everyone is so specific. And that's the same thing here for Word to Your Mama. It's the universal and the specific, right?
Yes.
No one's story is the same, but because there's similarities in certain struggles, especially being of color, especially being global and stuff like that, I really appreciate that. So now,
I appreciate that. Yes.
Christabel,
Yes.
let's get into the questions and comments from the audience, and then we'll get into the not so rapid fire questions,
You had
aka
questions
slowest questions.
Wait. You have questions from the audience? Goddamn. All right, go.
Yes, I have two. Let's start with the first one.
Yes.
What's the future look like for podcasters in the diaspora? And that is by Fanchon Cox, founder of True Jollof, if I'm messing it up, let me know, media, and producer and host of Sister Brunch Podcast.
Hey, I know Fanchon. I developed the podcast for her. What is the future of independent podcasters and diverse podcasters? Was that the question?
What is the future of podcasts? What does the future look like for podcasters in the diaspora?
Oh gosh, well, it depends on what market you're talking about, but I don't want to get too deep in there. What I can tell you and what I truly believe is that because podcasting is changing so much, right? I think especially during the pandemic, people were like, "Oh, how can I get my big contract?" Right? If I do this and I have X amount of listeners, then a Spotify or an Apple or whoever will notice me, and then I can be an exclusive. No, right? It wasn't really true. It wasn't true then. But it's even less true now just because a lot of these streamers are righting the ship in a lot of ways, right? They're saying, okay, well, it expanded a lot. And so what does it look like now? It feels difficult right now. And it can feel frustrating because in a lot of ways, it feels like it's, business as usual in some ways. Do you know what I mean? Like how do you, if you're accused of your content being niche, for example, all right? Like people go, oh gosh, well then, so now how am I going to get those downloads? But I would argue that having niche content actually serves you because the whole point of growing a community and listeners is to be focused. And so what I tell people, and I will say this now, is the future, I believe the future is bright. I say for independent creators and for people with diverse viewpoints, serve your communities and look at growing those communities. I think you should look at using things like using apps that will help you grow your communities. I was about to say when I stumbled, because I was about to say when I was like, maybe free advertising, we won't do that. But think about those things that kind of integrate your podcast, your audio with newsletters so you can collect that community and figure out how you can serve them. I'm doing it with the Cipher now. I'm playing around with a few things and I'm seeing that as soon as I really lean into my messaging and really look at ways to serve that audience, not just on social, and meet people where they are, right? So meet your listeners where they are. So if you're listeners and you're finding that your listeners are on social media, they're taking their small bites, give them something there and then keep on telling them, we've got some more meat for you at your main website. So I say, niche is actually good. You should take that to use that to your advantage. It makes you nimble, but you have to double down on it, right? I think that a lot of the time people have not realized that podcasting is a lot of work.
A lot of work. And so we're being asked now to create the show and then market the show. It's a business. So treat it as such. And when you do that, people will come to you. It's not going to happen straight away, but it's not going to take 10 years. So really focus on what that audience is. Double down on your niche because that's your community. They're not just your audience. They're not just ears. No. They're people who are coming to you who want to hear about your wisdom or what it is that you have to say. So do that. And I think that the future is bright. And I think that there are opportunities for sponsorship, believe it or not. I believe that there are sponsorship. I think that there are opportunities out there
just make sure that you're aligning yourself with brands or with companies that really understand your mission. I think there is a real opportunity for us to do that.
Yes. And studies show audience of color, podcasts who have hosts of color, their audience, their numbers might be lower, but the engagement is higher.
The engagement is higher. And do not forget, right? The companies that may not be taking the content, so to speak, they also understand the value of these dollars. They understand that they don't have access to the audience that you have.
Yeah.
So focus on building that audience, and then you can go out to them. And also don't underestimate, even if your numbers are low, if people understand that your message is strong and that you're building that audience, they're also going to come to you too.
Exactly. And they'll see it on returns on their investment when they give you a chance. And you can, and like you said, always have receipts and be like, oh, look, how many people, my numbers might be lower, but what's the ROI on the bigger podcast? Do they come back? No. So
where are they?
Keep that in mind. Exactly.
And also, where are they? Like, I've had guests from Trinidad, from all over Africa, from the UK, from the US, right? My listeners come from all over there. We live in a global world. There are companies who are looking like, how do they access people in the Caribbean right now? If you looked at it, then you'd think that people in Trinidad don't listen to podcasts. It's not true. They do. But if you don't spend the time to find out who those people are and to build a community there, how are you going to know? And businesses are looking for that because they're looking to, expand their audiences worldwide.
Yeah, definitely. They want it. You need to know for yourself, but also to provide the numbers to companies to be like, I know my audience. They're this. They skew this age. Blah 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 blah. They, the median income is this. Da 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 da. They're hardcore. Blah 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 blah. So yes. Second question: who comes in second place to Ghana when it comes to Jollof?
Well, I knew it was that's why I started laughing. And also correct. The framing was excellent. Who comes in second place?
And so this question is from myself and my relative, Naisha, my co-host of Relatives, because she had her African friends who are from Senegal and somewhere else. And we had a clip. She recorded them and we played it on a previous episode of The Relatives. And they were saying like who was coming second. And there was someone from, I think, Nigeria or Ghana saying that they didn't think that theirs was top notch. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. And I was like, we're going to ask Christabel if we ever get her on here. And today is the day. Does anyone come close?
Look, here's the thing. Ghana and Nigeria often fight for top spot. So because I'm a nice person, I'm going to say Nigeria. Now, I believe, and I want to check this, someone wrote a piece because they wanted to cause more trouble. They chose violence over peace. They were like, yeah, but jollof rice originated from, I think it was Senegal. And I was just like, but why would you do that? Who cares? Jollof rice could have been created in bloody Spain for all I care. The point is, whose is the best? Ghana's is the best. So let me just check my facts before people come for me saying, you don't even know what jollof rice was. One moment, please. Hold on. Jollof rice.
I love that. And the only reason why I know the goodness of jollof rice is because I had it at your baby shower. What? And I was like, what is this? And I was like, this is amazing. I was like, this is amazing.
I was right. Senegalese. Someone had the nerve to talk about, well, it was created in Senegal. I don't care. I'm like, you know what I say? I say, thank you, Senegal. Let me take that back because, my parents raised me right. Thank you, Senegal, for creating it. We merely perfected it.
Ooh!
You're welcome.
That's a quote. That's a bar.
Come for me.
Oh, I'm gonna post this snippet, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
I will also add, because I found out that I am 14% Nigerian.
Oh,
which I have Nigerian homies. When I tell you, they laughed and they said, "I told you, you're Nigerian." I feel honor bound. I can't tell you which part of Nigeria. I don't know. My grandparents are not Nigerian, so let's just call it migration. I'm going to say Nigeria also for that reason. I will say you come second. Well done. You're welcome.
Kudos to you.
Kudos.
Amazing. Okay, Christabel, let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
3 words to describe yourself.
You're right. Slow as hell question. They're really, we go. All right. 3 words to describe myself. Empathetic. Creative. I feel like that's an obvious one, but I feel like I have to say that. And foolish.
Okay. Second question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh. What's the worst that could happen?
Wow, yes.
That's how I got here. What's the worst that could happen? They can only say no.
Yeah. Love that. Okay, next one. One of my favorites to ask. What is the go-to song to get you hyped? It could be multiple. It could be, you can give me 2 if you need, because I know we all, especially those of us who love music, there could be multiples for different occasions.
Well, that's true. But I'm also thinking about the one that just hit me upside my head. I was like, wait, what? And, and also I also have kids, so that's going to skew it. So you're going to my cool ratio is going to go all the way down.
Never.
Oh, always. This one is slow as hell. Gosh. I cannot think. This is terrible. And as soon as this interview's done, I'm going to be like, oh, it was this one.
Totally.
Damn it.
Or maybe if you can't think of one that you use now, what is one that you used maybe back in the days when you made that move to New York? What was maybe something that reminds you of that time that's your hype song because it reminds you of that time?
It was, and it was for several years. Oh, now I'm going to give you a whole list of songs. So it was Get By Talib Kweli.
Oh, yeah.
It was Magic by D-Influence.
Okay.
It was Get Involved by, you know who that was by. And I'm moving up the years now. And so now my eldest has discovered old school, aka our era. Yeah. And I'm just like, well, okay. I have a whole list. Well, wait, there's a whole bunch of them. Joanna, the Afrobeats jam.
Joanna.
Joanna.
I love that song so much. I will add one or two of those songs to our Word to Your Mama guest hype song playlist that we have on Spotify, and it's varied, and we'll have it the link in the show notes so that you can hear past guest favorites, and it's a jam, it's a bop, it'll get you hyped. I mean, we have everything, all genres of music, because I have...
I'm going to send you some more, though, because I'm like, that doesn't represent me properly, but still, yes, enjoy it, listeners.
Of course, this will be edited. So when I, do the intro part, I'll mention whatever song that you send. And then the final question.
Yes, ma'am.
What will be your legacy?
Wow. My legacy, apart from foolish men and reopening the Jollof wars, my legacy will be inspiring people to dare to make it, to build it, and to dream.
Yeah.
That's what it will be, and to tell it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Christabel, muchísimas
Yes, ma'am.
gracias for being here, for being, my family, and for always supporting. You're very inspiring to see how you move through this world as a fellow magical MF warrior. And
Dragon. You called me a dragon, by the way, just so we're clear.
You're a dragon. Wizard. You're a wizard from Dragon School. But thank you so much for being here. And this is a long time coming. And this won't
really
be,
was.
it might be the first, but it won't be the last.
Nope.
And I'm excited to continue to build in this realm with you, because we have a lot of people that we have to put on and share these stories. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
Just the beginning. Please have me back, because I'm really sad it's over, but that's okay. I understand. But no, absolutely. We got a lot of work to do.
We're going to have you back, because we didn't get a chance. We could talk for hours, but we didn't get a chance to talk about the moans and the things. And so we'll have another conversation for that. But let the people know where they can find you, what's coming up, and all that good stuff.
All right. Goodness. All right. So you can find the Cipher podcast at the Cipher, spelled CIPHER pod.com. You can find me at Ms. Amma, MSAMA, on the Twitters, if that's what you use. If you don't, I am also on IG, and my name is long, Christabel Nsiah-Buadi. So look at the show notes. Maybe it'll be there.
It will be.
And on the social medias, the show is _Cipher_pod on all platforms. So go find us. Our season 3 has started. We wanted to celebrate International Women's Month, so that's what we're doing right now. We have new episodes on April the 14th. Season 3 continues then, so go check it out.
Perfect. Muchísimas gracias. Much love.
Much love,
and
sis.
let's continue these Jollof wars.
Let's not. Nigeria, I was joking. Senegal, I love you. Pandora? I did Pandora. I took a good game and shut it down. I was joking.
And now, introducing
the Supernatural Bear Corner.
Supernatural Bear.
Hello everyone, it is I, the Supernatural Bear, and today on the Supernatural Bear Corner, I'm just going to say something quickly. I remember it. I remember it very well. I remember the park in which Miss Christabel and my mother, say hi mother.
Hello.
In the editing zone, where they met. I remember where they met, and it had turtles. I love turtles. The park had turtles. It had a playground. It had a pond, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had a pond. Lived. That's where turtles live. Mm-hmm. Turtles and tortoises. Turtles in sea, tortoises on land. That's the difference.
So it was a tortoise.
Tortoises, and then.
Well, I guess they live in land, but they chill in the pond.
I don't know. But yeah, turtle tortoise hybrid. That's what we're calling them for now. And it was a nice place. It was a genuinely nice place. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I didn't have anything really planned. So yes. Also, if you didn't already know and you're just tuning in, for the first time, thank you, viewer, for coming. We have plenty of more very high-quality episodes, and we also have a Patreon, which you can go join in the show notes. The show notes. Every donation counts, and it helps us keep the lights on. It really does. Highlight. Anyway, this has been the Supernatural Bear.
Shooby-doo. There you have it, folks. That's episode 125 of Word to Your Mama with Christabel and Nsiah-Buadi. Yes, she's dope. We had a good time. As you could tell by the laughs. She's great, so you have to surround yourself with quality people like that are friends, that are turned into family, that no matter how much time has passed, you get together and it's like no time has passed. She's quality. She cracks me up. And so she did send me a long list of songs that finally came to her as she mentioned. So I'll name a few. Some are Moni in the Middle, Moni Love. Last by Burna Boy, Be Alright by Kendrick, The One for Me Joe, Days Like This Sean Escofri, and Woman by Neo featuring Liana La Havanas. Yeah, so there it is. And then you know how to support, all the different ways to support. You can leave, stars, a review, buy something from the store. You can become a patron. You can buy us a whiskey, buy us a chocolate, buy us a coffee. And some free ways there's a couple of free ways tossed up in there. You can buy something from the store. Did I say that already? I probably did. And then also you can tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. If you have any feedback that you want to give us directly, any suggestions, any questions, hola at wordtoyourmama.com. And as always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. If you want to know more, you want to email us, you want to get the media kit, go head over to wordtoyourmama.com. Word to Your Mama is now part of the Latina Podcasters Network. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by RitzyPeriwinkle.com.